Oh, go get your papers there. So we are delighted to welcome our tonight's speaker, a member of that Beth Am Women Board, Susan Kramer, who is a second generation Beth Amer, and we're going to hear a lot more about her tonight. So whenever you're ready. Just be careful right here. Don't trip.
Oh my. Shabbat Shalom. It's nice to see sorry. It's nice to see everyone this evening. I'm quite nervous being up here, so please forgive me if I falter. As mentioned, my name is Susan Kramer. Along with my two sisters, Deborah and Laura, I grew up here at Beth Am. My parents became members when I was 5 years old. I had a wonderful childhood growing up in the hills at a time when we really didn't have many neighbors at all. I spent my time exploring our backyard creek, catching gopher snakes, and riding horses. I was also extremely active in all sports, and ultimately, soccer, hiking, and skiing became passions of mine. I was very strong and felt invincible. Life was carefree, but my parents also reminded us where we came from. My ancestors, including my parents, worked very hard to give us the opportunities and privileges that they didn't have. Along with appreciating and remembering our past, I feel it's crucial to consider our future generations. We need to attempt to leave a world where all can flourish. Today's Torah portion reminds me of this goal. As described in the Torah, a woman's commentary, Vahet Hanan is a call to loyalty and love. The parsha begins with Moses' recollection of how he longingly prayed to God to be allowed to enter the promised land. After leading many years of wandering, Moses was crushed by God's refusal to allow him to join his community to their final destination. But he turns from frustration and anger to teaching moments. He still did everything in his power to ensure the survival and safety of the Jewish people, and he did his best to instill commandments and values so the Jewish people could continue to thrive. We need to try to make decisions and consider how our actions either hurt or benefit our descendants. Besides keeping my children safe and happy, it was very important to me to teach them about their history, but also about respect, inclusion, generosity, and kindness. By being involved, for example, with preparing and delivering meals, collecting pies for the homeless Thanksgiving meal, researching and fundraising for various nonprofits, they learn the importance of looking beyond themselves to see how their actions impact the world. A good example of this is how we chose to spend some of our time during the early part of the COVID lockdown. I have found that when life becomes very difficult for me, it helps me to look beyond myself and help other people. When COVID shut down our lives, it was difficult to find a purpose or stay focused. My sister introduced me to the Bay Area Furniture Bank, which works with counties to furnish housing for those who are struggling. They relied on volunteers to assemble some of their furniture, and during COVID, they lost all their volunteers. Working practically alone in a huge warehouse was kind of perfect during COVID. My husband right away volunteered to join me, and to my delight, without any complaining, my 3 kids joined me as well, and we spent several hot but fulfilling days together assembling furniture. Besides reflecting on today's Torah portion, we are also celebrating Tu B'Av, as you've already heard. Tu B'Av was originally a post-biblical day of joy. It served as a matchmaking day for unmarried women in the Second Temple period. It was almost unnoticed in the Jewish calendar for many centuries, but it has been rejuvenated in recent decades. In its modern incarnation, it has become a Jewish day of love, slightly resembling Valentine's Day. This certainly resonates with me. The main focus in my life has been to love deeply. and to also worry about and take care of everyone around me. Everyone is quite capable, but I still constantly worry about my kids, husband, parents, sisters, nieces and nephews, friends, clients, definitely the world at large, and even my pets. I think you get the picture. About 13 years ago, I went through a divorce and became financially on my own, raising 3 small kids in Silicon Valley. I happened to be quite independent and a bit stubborn, and I still felt as invincible as I did growing up. I worked extremely hard to make sure my children were happy and comfortable. It was important for me to pick up my kids from school every day and to be available for them whenever they needed me. I ended up working in the evenings to compensate for that flexibility. My schedule became quite full, so I stopped playing soccer, stopped exercising regularly. Over the next several years, I planned 2 bar mitzvahs, 1 bat mitzvah, remodeled my house. I met my lovely husband and planned our wedding, which I have to say was quite magical, with my children and nephews playing instruments and singing, and Cantor Shpal officiating. In 2018, there was some serious family stress, and I was also dealing with the worst client ever. I was barely staying afloat, trying to manage everything and take care of everyone around me. So, of course, taking care of myself was put last. I was completely overwhelmed, and I was no longer invincible. I happened to be college touring with my sons when I felt something funny on the side of my chest. It wasn't a lump, but a small strip of denser tissue. But I was extremely busy, so I didn't think much about it, and I ignored it. About a month later, I asked my husband whether he could feel something funny in that, something different in that area, and he did. So after a very stressful weekend waiting for my biopsy results, in April 2018, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I am BRCA negative, had no history or reason to worry about cancer. This, of course, isn't a medical fact, but part of me truly believes that because I was under so much stress for so long, that the cancer was able to take hold. After my diagnosis, it was a whirlwind with 8 doctor's appointments in the first 2 weeks. I ultimately had to go through 2 surgeries, 4 rounds of chemo, and radiation. I know some of you, actually many of you unfortunately, can relate, but it was a very difficult 6 months. And I'm currently on year 4 of the medication I have to take for 10 years. Post-traumatic stress is very real, and the pain and trauma I experienced during that time sometimes hits me even these days. But this brings me back to celebrating Tu B'Av. I was so very lucky because during this time, I was constantly surrounded by lots of love and support. My family and friends were amazing and helped me through this challenging time. I was provided with meals, rides for my kids, small gifts, and lots of love. Life is an amazing adventure and journey. For me, it's a story that you just keep telling and learning more about all the time. I truly feel extremely fortunate, and I try to spread love in every way that I can. But I know that not everyone is as lucky as I am. There's so many causes and ailments that need attention. My heart truly aches for anyone suffering, and it becomes overwhelming for me. So right now, I'm only able to focus on the issues that I know and try, even in small ways, to help where I can. After I finished my 6 months of treatment, I became involved with the organization Shersheret, which supports Jewish women and their families facing or at high risk of facing breast and ovarian cancer. They provide their clients with peer support, genetics conversations, financial assistance, and other support. Because of my experience, I was able to become a peer support contact. It's very fulfilling. Another organization I became involved with is Pink Ribbon Girls, or PRG for short. PRG provides meals, transportation, house cleaning, and peer support free of charge to breast and gynecological cancer patients. This organization is helping our direct local community, and the Bay Area contact for PRG, as some of you may know, happens to be a longtime member of Beth Am and Beth Am Women. Just this past year, I joined the Beth Am Women Board. Bethel Women tries very hard to encourage community, inclusiveness, and friendship. Every year, Bethel Women honors our volunteers and board members at our Celebrate in the Garden event. And the event also supports various local nonprofits. As a co-organizer of this year's event, I am thrilled that we will be supporting Pink Ribbon Girls. The event is taking place in just a few days on August 16th. So please let me know if anyone would like more information. Also, if anyone needs a ride to or from the event, please just reach out to me and I will make that happen. On a side note, because I have to kind of put this plug in, for Bethel Women, every 3 years we send out a survey to hear from all of our members. And now that I'm on the board, I see that we truly do use the results and try to incorporate what we can. So if possible, please complete the survey when it's mailed in a few months. In conclusion, I encourage everyone here to try to pay attention to what our bodies are telling us, to try to keep stress at a manageable level, to spread love and joy when you can, and to take a deep breath. As Marge Percy writes in her poetic interpretation of Vahafta, we must choose life so our children's children may live. Be quiet and listen to the still, small voice within that speaks in love. Open to that voice, hear it, heed it, and work for life. Let us remember and strive to be good. Let us remember to find what is holy within and without. Thanks to the amazing volunteers of Bethel Women and Bethel Men, tonight, to celebrate Tu B'Av, we get to indulge in wine and chocolate. I personally can't think of a better way for our community to come together and take care of each other. With gratitude and humility, I want to thank you for allowing me to share my story. Shabbat Shalom.